At 5 with Samantha German, Chief Meteorologist Josh Knight, and Sports with Mitch Brown. Local First coverage starts right now.
Breaking now, all buildings in the U.S. Capitol complex locked down after a security threat from President Trump's supporters. This is a live look at the nation's capital. The Associated Press says one person was shot at the Capitol. The FBI has also been called in, and the mayor of Washington, D.C., ordering a citywide curfew from 6 tonight until 6 tomorrow morning. That's forcing Congress to recess during a joint session to formally count the Electoral College votes. Now, this was the scene a little earlier as protesters chanting USA storming inside the U.S. Capitol while lawmakers were voting to certify President-elect Joe Biden's win. And just moments ago, President Trump urging his supporters to respect law and order. Mr. Trump telling them to keep the peace.
It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace.
Now, the president went on to say that it was a fraudulent election, but again, emphasizing there must be peace going forward. Now, the president-elect, Joe Biden, just gave some remarks as well about what's happening on Capitol Hill. Biden says we are seeing a small number of extremists, and it does not reflect America.
Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America, do not represent who we are.
Our President-elect Biden calls protesters a mob and is telling them to pull back from Capitol Hill. Now, Senator Chuck Grassley, who's the second highest ranking official in the Senate, was escorted out after protesters breached the Capitol today. Lawmakers inside the House chamber were told to put on gas masks as tear gas was fired in the rotunda. Now, on the outside, protesters tearing down metal barricades at the bottom of the Capitol steps. They were met by officers in riot gear, some trying to push past officers holding shields, and officers could be seen firing pepper spray into the crowd to control that scene. Now, before protests erupted at the Capitol, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell expressing his concerns over challenging electoral votes.
The voters, the courts, and the states have all spoken.
Now, more than 50 lawsuits filed by the Trump legal team aiming to overturn the election results have been rejected. Meanwhile, here at home, hundreds at the State House in Columbia rallying to protest the November election results and support President Trump. That group chanting that they want freedom and justice. Our Simone Jameson was there and has more.
I believe the election was rigged. Our voices were stolen. Our votes were stolen. And I'm standing up and fighting against it.
Wendy Brown among a crowd of hundreds at the State House Wednesday to protest the general election results and the results of Tuesday's Senate runoff in Georgia.
All I need to do is go and to fight this morning a one-word term. Don't tread on me!
Showing solidarity for President Donald Trump and the Republican Party in what they say is a fight for freedom. Many here at this event say that it's about much more than supporting one political person or party. They say it's also about defending the Constitution and basic human rights.
We also, though, saw voter suppression. We had people nationally saying, don't vote in the Senate race if you're a Republican.
The group clashing with counter-protesters who believe the election was won fair and square.
It was a very well-run election. So the idea that this election was stolen is utterly false.
Though President Trump was the focus, many said they were there to protest socialism and to see what they call the truth to be revealed.
It's about the future of our nation. And when we look at our election system and we are concerned that there might be fraud, we expect our leaders to take that seriously.
We need to be one country under God again. We need to get rid of this corruption.
In Columbia, Simone Jameson, WACHFOX News, Local First.
We are looking live again at the nation's capital here. Still, crowds assembled outside the Capitol building there. Just a few moments ago, we showed you the president telling protesters to go home, to keep the peace, respect law enforcement there. President-elect Joe Biden also making remarks to the country, urging the very same thing as this situation continues to play out. Breaking into the WACHFOX Content Center right now, Columbia police say the woman on your screen is charged in a shooting that severely injured a man. 29-year-old Vanessa Brown accused of shooting an acquaintance after an argument on Randall Avenue Extension back in November. The victim here is still in the hospital. And Richland County deputies say a second man has been arrested in connection to a killing on Broad River Road. Tyler Boges facing charges here. Deputies were called to the 1300 block of Broad River Road after a car crashed into a building back on December 22nd. The driver had been shot and later died at the hospital. Deputies say Boges and another man shot the victim before he crashed into the building. An 11-year-old girl kidnapped from her front yard by a convicted sex offender. Deputies were able to bring her home, but a community is on edge. Brittany Breeding has that story.
And this is what you always hear about, the stranger danger. This is somebody that is a complete stranger to the family.
It's just sad. It really is sad.
When an 11-year-old girl never came home from school, her parents called authorities. What they discovered is that the child actually disappeared hours earlier, before school began, taken while waiting for the bus.
The child did not attend school that day. And he basically was driving around with her, and we're still getting all the details and what all took place during the day.
Deputies say the kidnapper is 63-year-old Charles Hargett. He was arrested within an hour after the child was reported missing. He had wrecked his car at the intersection of Kershaw Highway and Lockhart Road.
One of our deputies came across a vehicle that was wrecked on the side of the road close to the house. He got out, checked it out. It was an intoxicated driver, and the child was in the car. We were lucky to get this child back when we did, and she's with her family now, safe.
Hargett faces charges of DUI and kidnapping. We dug into his criminal record. Hargett has a long rap sheet spanning decades, including convictions for previous sex offenses, assault and battery, burglary, child endangerment, solicitation of a minor, and more. He's a registered sex offender.
We have a couple grandkids that's not much older than that, and it's really terrifying.
Brittany Breeding reporting now. This morning, Hargett was denied bail by a judge. Deputies tell us that more charges are expected in this case. Well, how can you find out if there is a sex offender in your community? The answer is easier than you actually know. Local law enforcement has portals where you can search for offenders. Tonight, our Suji Nam talks with SLED officials to show you how to find the dangers and learn how to keep your family safe.
Information is power, and information is important. And that is why we as a state do have a sex offender registry that is available.
And through resources like SLED's online registry, anyone who has been convicted or pleaded guilty to a sex crime has to register online in South Carolina. You can also search for offenders in your county by heading on over to your local law enforcement agency's website.
By law, they are to check in with the sheriff's office of the county that they are residing and notify them so that they can be put on the registry. And they are periodically required to check in.
So we did a little research ourselves. We went to rcsd.net, clicked on Citizen Resources, RCSD Sex Offender Registry, typed in an address and a mile radius, and here's what we found. SLED officials tell us there are about 18,000 registered sex offenders statewide. And even if the offenders leave the state, once they're registered in South Carolina, their names would be on the record.
If you see something suspicious, say something. And that is always the case. Don't hesitate to contact your local law enforcement. Call 911 if necessary.
You can log on at any time, and it will help families be extra vigilant about who could be a threat nearby. In Columbia, Suji Nam, WACHFOX News, Local First.
Now, we also reached out to Attorney General Alan Wilson's office, who's worked extensively with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. While he was unavailable for an interview, a spokesperson does tell us that they encourage parents to go to scsafety.net to keep track of all your children's activities online. Now, for the very latest developments on this story and more information about what we told you and how you can find this type of information that could be very valuable to keeping your family safe, we have it posted for you on our website, wach.com.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Josh Knight. We are looking at much cooler weather for you today. 49 in Columbia, 47 for Lexington. Keep in mind, this is after the 60s yesterday. Just had a tough time getting there today. Part of that was the afternoon cloud cover. I do expect more of that will clear out tonight, actually allowing temperatures to drop off a little bit more. Now, we're still dry tonight, dry for most of tomorrow. Our next weather maker is that rainy system you see out there in Texas that moves our way, bringing us our rain starting for tomorrow evening. This evening, nothing to worry about. Just make sure you're ready for those chillier temperatures. We're down to 41 by 8 o'clock and into the mid-30s closer to bedtime. We'll talk more on the rain's timing coming up here in a few minutes. Let me show you what's going on out on the roads quickly here, starting off with a live look. Right now you're on I-20 near mile marker 62. Typically one of our slow spots. We're doing all right there right now, but let me show you how things look on the map. We are getting a little bit more of a slowdown in that stretch once you get past 378. First, working our way into the east side of town, though, a little bit slow on 2 Notch right now. An accident at Wilson and Hardscrabble, but not really slowing things down for you much. And then just be mindful as you're westbound on I-20 again. I don't think it looks as bad as that red color makes it look, but still just going to be a little slower than normal for this time of the day.
New details now in Orangeburg County. A couple of days ago, we told you about a body that was found in a freezer in an abandoned home just hours before that home burned to the ground. Our Shay Simon has been tracking this story since it first broke. She's live now with the latest. Shay.
Yeah, Brian, I'm at the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office right now. There are more questions than answers in this very bizarre case. I just spoke with the Orangeburg County coroner. They say right now they are still working on arrangements for that autopsy, so no word on when that will happen. That's when we're expected to learn more about the person that was found in the freezer, their sex, and maybe a cause of death. Now, we do know that Orangeburg fire officials have not released what time that fire happened or if there are any suspects. We do know that this all started Sunday when a group of teens riding four-wheelers said they went into the home because they thought it was haunted. Then they found a badly decomposed body inside a freezer, and tonight many in the community are still on edge.
That's pretty gruesome and that's pretty cruel. I mean, if you found a dead body, you'd tell somebody. But if you were malicious, you might kill somebody and then dispose of them that way.
Now, many people I spoke to in the community say they were shocked to hear about this. They say this is something that they've seen in movies, but never expected it to be a reality here in Orangeburg County. Now, I'm still waiting to hear back from Orangeburg County officials on if there are any new updates on this case. We'll keep you posted as we learn more. In Orangeburg County, Shay Simon, WACHFOX News, Local First.
Thank you, Shay. Well, still ahead on the news at 5. Another day that South Carolina is seeing a surge in coronavirus numbers. We're going to break down the latest information for you straight ahead.